Going live. Cue music. And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the FrontLines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. Well, it's another very busy day. More and more we're seeing come out, and some things are really amazing to see how people come together and it's also amazing to see that their plan, the cabal plan to take down America, has been unfolding. What they've been orchestrating, as we saw before when yesterday I showed this little map. Let me show it again. This is the place where National Guards are called out in the yellow state, where the states are yellow, and all those other red dots are where there's protests. So 75 cities coordinated end up being in the position of having the cities overrun with looting and rioting, and they're telling the police to stand down. Whose side are they on? Anyway, we can see this is their plan. This is the front lines. This is where they are taking the battle, is to the streets, and it is with what is known in the past on the leftist side of things as they're called useful idiots. And you can find a lot of useful idiots in many places. One of them are the useful liberal white colored that are being approached by someone who say that they're from Black Lives Matter and asking them to kneel before them. First of all, they're judging them on their skin color, that they're white, so they're being racist. And the liberal mindset of the white that have been brainwashed into thinking that they are responsible for things that happened generations ago by what is called systemic racism. So what exactly do they mean, systemic racism? Because isn't it kind of a very strange for it to be called a systemic problem? Let me bring up a screen here. So this is just a Google search. I'm sorry, DuckDuckGo on systemic. It says relating to systems, right, or a system. So there's a system of racism. Is it really a system of racism that we're struck with? I really don't see it that way. So, or let's say about this one, relating to, right, the entire body. Relating to, all right, or is it affecting the entire body? So, growing up where I did in Western Pennsylvania, I saw uh, some very racist individuals. I lived in a town where a black person wasn't allowed. It was said that there was one way to get into this town, right? In and out was a bridge, literally a bridge. The only way to get into the town was by way of a bridge. It was surrounded on three sides by a steel mill that was closed. When I was very young, it was open, but by the time I was getting into 10 years old or so, something like it pretty much was closing down at that point. So three sides by a steel mill. The fourth side was railroad tracks that weren't, the only way to cross them was a bridge that came down from the mountain side. There was a highway that went along, and then there was one bridge that came down there right into the town. So it was said that if you crossed that bridge and you were black, you would be shot. I remember that playing basketball was actually kind of frowned on at some points. It was kind of weird. Sometimes it was okay, sometimes it wasn't, because they said it was a black sport. So I've seen it, right? I've seen it up front and personal, but everyone that I grew up with, across the board, all of the young kids that I played with, all thought it was crazy. It was stupid, right? So I grew up there, right? And everyone I grew up with, right, said that it was stupid. Yeah. And that the so-called race wars that were going on was stupid. When I went to high school there in Pennsylvania, I was only there for the first year, right? And then I moved to California. But there was, a time where there was, they shut it down because of a race war. And this was, and the reality is it was just an area that was brought up as, it was segregated. It was a segregated community. And that area exploded in violence. And so they shut down the high school. I remember this. I don't remember for how many days it went on, but it wasn't too long. But even then, I remember, all the kids said, it was stupid. We had black kids in the school, white kids in the school. There was, a few Asians, not many. But it was very strange, right? Everyone kind of had the same feelings, and we were always mocking it, right? Even making fun, really, of it. So, is there racism? Of course there is. The Republican Party, if you had David Duke, right? He was a Grand Dragon in the Ku Klux Klan, right? But what happened to him? He was ostracized by the party. He was forced to be, relegated to the side. So does it exist? Yes. Is it systemic? No. But the media uses this as a way of creating some sort of white guilt. The type of white guilt that people will just, if someone that's black comes up and says, "Kneel before me." Now, first of all, is that really what Martin Luther King was talking about? Was that what he wanted? He wanted really the whites to bow before the blacks? Or was he talking about everyone being equal and color of skin make no bit of difference? So are you really acting as though that you are superior to another individual? And to the person kneeling on the ground, do you really think that you are making a positive contribution? That in some way that you bowing is going to make amends for what happened generations ago? Or are you actually contributing to a much bigger problem of division? This is the time to come together. I haven't seen any other president more than Trump bring everybody together. Well, Ronald Reagan, but but the type of that the way that Trump is going about it, really, he's actually taking the playbook from the Democrats, which is to divide, right, and make these little pockets and get them to agree with you. He says, okay, well, I'm going to go into your pockets. Not financially. Go into your pockets of individuals that you created, a black community and a Hispanic community. And instead of treating everyone as the Republican Party usually is, as equal, right? He literally is taking their playbook and reading and saying, okay, well, great. Well, I consider everyone equal. Let me just go show you into those pockets, right? So that's what we see, is happening with Trump. So we can see that there is amazing things that are going on right now. So let me talk about a couple of these things. So a reason I brought up this kneeling, this thing, because there's a lot of videos going around. I'm not even going to show them because I think it's demeaning for everybody, not just the one that's kneeling down. It's meant to cause division, right? So I'm not going to go into that, right? But I brought it up because Dan Bongino, he brought it up today, and I thought it was a very good point. So I wanted to talk about that and why systemic doesn't even fit. But this is just part of the media narrative, and we have to be aware every time this stuff comes up, we have to identify it. And we're doing an excellent job at identifying these narrative spins that they're sending at us. Right? We're awake. We're really woke. I find it interesting the word woke came up into being, right? Because there was the Great Awakening of the Qanon movement. And by the way, thank you for everyone who has given me some positive feedback about what we covered yesterday on the broadcast. Thank you. I'd also, like to thank those that have turned up in Parler. Let me just, as a kind of little segue here. Otherwise, we get into this and I'll lose track here. So I now have 58 followers. It's not quite doubling from yesterday, but that's a very big, increase over yesterday. So it is increasing over here. That's wonderful news. I've started actually trying to make some comments, like Dan Bongino again, and he has 200,000 subscribers on Parler. So that means that we can all have 200,000. So it is big enough, right, to support, a major effort for us all to communicate to one another. It's at least 200,000 people are there. Let's say every 100% of everyone who goes to Parler is hooked up with Dan Bongino. That's still 200,000 people in our audience, right? We need to reach them. We need to connect. So anyway, so I made a comment here. So Dan Bongino said liberals are all in on, right? Antifa, chaos, defunding the police, which is crazy, right? But they're serious efforts on going to do that. Why? Because it's war. It's part of the front lines, getting people to just go along with it. Just go ahead and be suppressed. Just go ahead and give up all of your rights. Just go ahead and remove your protection. Those are the police officers. All right, open borders, economic lockdowns. Economic lockdowns, that's interesting, right? That go Dan. All right, infanticide. Wow. Police state spying, voter fraud, and a vote accordingly in November. Voter fraud, voter accordingly in November. All right. So I just made a little comment that makes it easy to identify them with their identity politics. So again, please join me in Parler. The link is down below. Please come here, join in, and make some comments. Right? I'm listing my videos as they come up. Make some comments. We're starting to get some comments in here. So there's one comment in here. Who made the comment? Me. I made my own comment. I'm looking for another one in here. maybe here, this one. BJ Good 39. Thanks, Dan. That's Lazaro. Every little bit we can do to make it a bit closer to achieve the peace and love we aspire to have on the planet. There we go. So I like what you have to say. I'm giving you an up. All right. So that's fantastic. Thank you again for everyone who's joined me over here. I'm also going to take another little moment here and say I have launched the Grains.bid, which is an auction site. This is an auction currently going on for these are gold grain coins. So the gold grain coins is now about 3 months old. Now we built this auction site so that you can get, like, this is for 5 grains, and this one is for 50 grains, this is for 30 grains, this is for 100 grains. And you can bid, and then basically as the timer runs down, you can win the auction. And here's a blog post that I did talking about this. This is off of kringlegold.com. Again, the information is down below in the video, but this is the latest blog that I put up there that really talks about this. Here's a little video that shows how the auction works. Well, I'll play a little bit of it. So only 7 minutes long, but I'll skip ahead a little bit.
Okay, it's still creeping down there. 50 seconds, 19 cents. Only 19 cents for 50 grains. That must be 99.9% off.
So who's going to be winning this bid, right? So anyway, I'm giving commentary. So we have another live Zoom event coming up on the 6th. The information is down below. You got to register on Zoom if you want to participate in the promotion. I'll just go ahead and let me.
15 men, we're at 20 cents.
Let me go ahead. I'll just bring this back down to the end here.
Yes!
2 in a row.
2 in a row, too.
You just won.
2 in a row.
The big winner of the day. 500 bid vouchers and 50 gold grains.
Anyway, that was it. So there's a little bit in here about explaining how what part of each auction you should take a look at. You know, the names of and what they mean, and then how do you get bids? You can buy your bids, win your bids, or gift your bids, and then there's promotions for bids right here. You can double your bids, you know, by buying a bid package, and basically by June 5th, and then you have to register for the Zoom conference, right, for the first live event auction. The one we had about 6 different auctions so far. These were all with the leaders, basically working out, making sure everything was functioning. But they really got the wins, so that was good. So here's the live event auction coming up, and here's the registration for it down here below. You can also watch it live on YouTube. That will be coming across on this channel, or you could just bid from home. All right, enough with that. Let's move on. So this is very interesting. Now this is why I named this particular one "They're Coming for Our Children." This is from Paul Turner. He's really talking about the changes in law that these governors are making. Taking dictatorial powers, calling from the state of emergency, now instituting martial law in these states, and then under these powers taking away the rights of parents, and also where they're going to put children. He's actually removing all the restrictions that would be safeguards for where the children were to go, to really put them in concentration camps with almost nothing. I mean, it's really ridiculous. So we're going to play a little bit of this. Again, this is Paul Turner. This is a Facebook page, but I started it right here, but we'll go back and listen to some of it in the beginning. But this tells you, you know, some important information right here in this part.
You see that
This is what is happening right now in Idaho. And Brad Little is doing this because he has the ultimate executive power. And he has been funded now. He's got $1.4 billion to do this. And you have to ask why. Are they planning on forcing contact tracing? Are they planning on forcing immunization? And those who will not comply, they'll have their children taken from them under the guise of public health? Is that what's going on? And they know they're going to have so many children that they have to have leniency on the staff, on the facilities, and they can't allow parents to come in and visit. They can't allow them to appeal the state's decisions, and they can't allow, and they certainly can't notify the parents of every change because there's too many children. And so it makes perfect sense why he would do this. Perfect sense. Why else would he do this? So I ask the question again. Why would Governor Brad Little waive the rules that protect parents and children's rights when they're taken by the state? Why? So I am giving you this evidence to warn you of what is probably happening in your state also, and for those in Idaho, warning you what is happening for sure in our state. And I listed the evidence, I showed some of it here, and I've also given you a link here at the bottom that you can go to and actually look at the evidence. You can even go into their websites and see it. I am not speaking out the side of my mouth. Many people have spent hours and hours and hours researching this to present it to you.
Let's go back.
I've been doing.
We're just going to go right back to the beginning here. That was an important part just to give you really what this is about, right? They're coming for our children in this state of war, right? We are in a state of emergency in all 50 states. You know, the president is basically telling the governors, take control of your states, right, by stopping the looting, right? But what some of these, what seems like they're all blue states, Democrat states, strongholds, they're acting dictatorially from a matter where they're trying to basically say that Trump is acting like a dictator. That's what the news media keeps spinning out there. But really, it's these governors that are acting this way. So let's listen to how he starts with. This is also very good.
Doing this quite a bit, and for that I want to, I guess apologize. But what I have is to tell you is so important, and what is happening to our state, and the danger that our families and in particularly our children are in is imminent. It is imminent, and I'm going to give you the evidence of the danger that we are in under these governor's executive orders in Idaho, in Washington, in Oregon, California, and most of the other states. If you remember, a few weeks ago, I spoke about the Washington State Department of Children and Youth Family Services posting an employment ad on governmentjobs.com and ZipRecruiter asking for DCYF employees in certain counties to apply. And the job posting said that they would be supervising and supporting children and youth in emergency quarantine centers. Now that got quite a bit of attention. Also on the job posting, it listed 3 facility names and addresses of these children emergency quarantine centers, and that was their terminology. It also said that the social services worker would care for children who are either COVID-19 positive or who may be exposed to COVID-19. Once that video got out, and it...
Just a pause there. All right. May have been exposed, or they are exposed to COVID-19. Does that mean like every child? Just saying.
It reached a lot of people. I would say it went viral, and the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families took the postings down, and then they replaced it with a letter. And in that letter, it says a few things, and I think it's further revealing. It says, basically, the video that we did and what others are doing was misinformation that was spreading as a result of the job description. They further said the post prematurely included sites of potential location in the community where we could house children in our legal care. It goes on, the facilities listed are not affiliated with the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families. Okay, so, and then it says the listings have since been taken down. It further goes on, it says these facilities are for the limited scope and not considered quarantine centers. However, it says right in their job posting that these are children and youth emergency quarantine centers. That was the title of it. And so by this letter, it seems to me like information got out that wasn't supposed to get out. But why would it be like that? Why would they have the quarantine centers listed? Why would they have the addresses, the names? Why would they say that it's emergency quarantine centers and then reverse their basically job posting and saying, oh, it was all unauthorized?
I think we can tell why that's occurring, right? This is basically the whole ball of wax for them, right? They have to get to the children. Why is it that they are so interested to take the children away? So we can go into the adrenochrome, right? And we've covered quite a lot of that reasoning, right? Their supply has been cut off. What came through with the synthetic gave them a disease. They are desperate for it, right? And this is part of the harvesting program that they were going to be doing. But what else does it do, right? If you've had your children removed from you, right? Are you going to be upset? If that's happening across the board, how many parents are going to now really get out and riot? They want to tear down the country. Taking the children away is part of the steps for them to do that. But it also gives them the excuse to create the boot on the neck. The imagery that they wanted to portray, and we know was false. Right? They created this event, this false event, in order to get everybody to know that there is systemic racism, right? But also to put it into your programming of, see, we knew it was true. They're dictators. It's about creating the reality of a dictator. Weaving that reality. This is what they're doing. In their side, it's lesser magic. It's the form of what they do to push society in directions. It all comes by way of this this continued putting out imagery that they want you to react to. And then if you act in the way that they want, then they win. If everyone comes together in peace and puts their arms up in solidarity together, like we saw yesterday on the video, where those people were just standing, which has more power? Standing together in unity or acting in chaos? Which has more power? Don't fall into their trap. And we're not going to let them take our kids. We have to basically peacefully deal with these people by removing them. And how do we do that? By assembling. It's in the Constitution to assemble, but you have to know what that means. It does not mean to get together in solidarity and put your hand up. No, that's not what it means. To assemble is to form a government. As simply as people coming together and stating so that this government is not for the people. It's going against the Constitution. As soon as that happens, they are no longer a government of the people. They are the de facto government. They're the ones standing there as government. But it doesn't mean that they're legal or lawful, right? They are there pretending to now represent the people when they're not. They're not going by the Constitution. They're not abiding by our rights. They're stamping on them. They're the ones with their knee on our neck, their boot on our throat. They're the ones. And as such, as soon as we assemble, right? As soon as we assemble, we are then the de jure government, the real government. And you just have to file and state so and make notice in, say, newspapers or in creating grand juries to investigate, right? This is our system. It's been distorted. We've been trained to think that to assemble means to protest with a sign out in front of the building, and that has nothing to do with it. Of course, it's something that we can do, right? And we should do, but it doesn't mean that that is the assembly. The assembly is the government, and we can throw off that government that is basically against the people. That's the rule in the Constitution. They can't go against it if we assemble and form a government. So in all 50 states, this can happen. It can happen at the county level. It can happen at the city level, on the town level, the village, the street. You assemble, and you are the law of the land. And you know what? The marshals will back you up, the sheriffs. You know, that's what we can see standing up for us around the country is the sheriffs. So, all right. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this because now he's going to get into some interesting other details. So I think it's important. We're going to keep going.
The whole job posting was unauthorized. It wasn't supposed to be there, and caused people to be concerned. But it's all misinformation. Okay. Now, maybe you might believe that or might not, but I am here to give you some more evidence that that job posting was exactly what they were planning on doing and still planning on doing. And not only in Washington, but here in Idaho and in many other states. So if you remember, on March 13th, Idaho Governor Brad Little placed us in a state of emergency.
Mask bandit.
We had like a handful of COVID cases. It was ridiculous. We're a state of 1.8 million people, and we had literally a handful of cases, and we were put in a state of emergency. So you have to ask the question, why? Because I'm backing up here a little bit, then I'm going to go right into, what Governor Little is doing when it comes to our families and our children. So let's back up here. Friday, March 13th, President Trump announced that $50 billion is available for states under emergency. The very same day, Governor Little announced that Idaho is a state of emergency. I wonder why. It certainly wasn't because of the COVID cases in the state. It was because of the $50 billion that was available to it. Then, later, Trump and Pelosi announced that they're going to pass a $2 trillion bill. What do you know? Just a few days later, almost the exact same time, Governor Little puts the state of Idaho in extreme state of emergency and under 46601, which actually is martial law. Chapter 6, so Title 46, Chapter 6, it is titled Martial Law and Active Duty. So right now, the state of Idaho is under martial law. We are not a Republican form of government anymore. We are a dictatorship, and I'm not saying that calling names or trying to incite. We are literally under martial law, and what that does is to suspend the Republican form of government. It suspends the legislature's primary duties, and it puts the governor in ultimate power of the state. The purpose of this is so that he can handle an emergency quickly, resolve it if needed, and protect the rights of the people. But that's not what it's being used for. In fact, the Idaho law, now stick with me because I'm gonna get to where we're going here, but you got to understand this part too, because all the other states are doing the same thing or very similar. So Idaho law 461008 says that when we're put in a state of emergency under the governor has 30 days. And then if it needs to, he can extend it for another 30 days. And after that, we go back to a Republican form of government, a representative government, right?
Except,
however, before that 60 days came up, Governor Little enacted 46601, which is the martial law. And in it, it doesn't have any provision to end. So now Governor Little has full control of the state of Idaho, including all its funding, all its activities. Now that Governor Little has all the power in the state of Idaho to do whatever he wants, he thinks anyway, and now he has about $1.4 billion of federal funding to do whatever he wants.
so let's stop there for a moment. So this is some of the snaky stuff that these lawyers always do, or attorneys should be more specific. You know, or the people that go into government, right? Is they create these laws that, you know, when you look at the face of them, they seem like those are going to be pretty safe, right? You know, it's gonna uphold the Constitution. They're gonna uphold our rights. So there might be an emergency where we have to, like, okay, Governor, go do what you need to do, right? All right, so okay, go do it. But it's limited. You can't run away with government forever and I'll be king, right? But see how they slip this in and say, oh, but as soon as we put martial law into place, then it doesn't matter, because now we can keep this going in perpetuity. And that is the plan, right? They're moving forward with their plan. This is an insurrection. It is a war for the country. It is a civil war. It is an international law, an international war against the deep state cabal, right? This is a worldwide government. Antifa's goal, as I read in their manual, right, is one world government. It's not for stomping out fascism. They're not anti-fascist. They're creating a fascist utopia. But this is an international event. China is highly involved in it, because they were going to be the manufacturing powerhouse of the world. All the flow of money would then move to China. That's what they were anticipating. Now that's being dismantled, right? We're going to cover a little bit more of that, but we're going to continue with him because this is really important information, because it reveals the plots, right? How much they've been conspiring and what they were intending to do in all 50 states.
What is he actually doing? What is he doing with that money? And what is he doing with the law? Okay, so I wish I didn't have to inform you of this. But what Governor Little has been doing with the laws is he has been changing them. He's been suspending them. That's probably the better term. He has been suspending the law. But what laws is he suspending? He is suspending laws such as this: visitation for child's parents or legal guardians. So yes, if a child was taken by the state is required by law to allow the parents or the guardian to visit the child. Governor Little has suspended that. He has suspended that law. Also, he has suspended the law that requires the state to notify the parent if the child is moved or if the condition of the child has changed. Governor Little has suspended that law, where the state no longer has to.
So you have no right to go visit your child And wherever they've said that they were moving their child, they can move the child to another location. And you cannot know where your child is. Your child is now lost to you forever. Let's continue.
Notify the parents. He also suspended the law where the parent can appeal of the state's decision. He has completely suspended that law. It's no longer required, and the parents no longer can appeal the state's decisions in moving them, the condition in which they're in, the fact that they have taken them. All of that has been suspended. Now, I wish that was it. But Governor Little has also suspended the requirement state agents must follow when housing and caring for children in their legal care. Some of these suspensions include bathroom requirements, meaning having bathrooms or having private bathrooms or having enough bathrooms. Also sleeping room requirements so that females and males are housed in the same room so that there's enough room for the children. That has all been suspended.
So I want to tell you when I'm hearing this, what's going through my mind is that those security cameras from Epstein's Island, and the children that were there, they were obviously only thing they had to sit on was buckets. They were all huddled together. It's all nighttime vision, so they're in the dark and they're eating at these table all together, all squished together. It's a concentration camp. So if you remove all of these things, as they say, you have to have bathrooms for each one, that they have to be in different domiciles, male and female, right? What are you creating? What is it? What is it that they are doing? And you have no right to know where your child is. It's horrific.
Also, how many staff to children they must have. Now there is no requirement to how many staff you have to have for children. Also, fire safety requirements for the facility has been scrapped. The facility doesn't have to have.
That means there's no firemen coming in to inspect the place, right? No inspection. There's no way for them to report the horrible conditions. After all, our firefighters, they join because they want to protect people. They're not going to go along with this.
Any fire safety requirements? What about this? Employee training in the facility and with the children. They don't have to have any training anymore. That's all been scratched. No training. Also, health inspections for the facility and for the children been suspended by government.
Again, no inspections. No one can go and see them, what kind of conditions they're living in.
Governor Little, suspended. Even waiving the need to have a facility license is gone. It's gone altogether.
No licensed facility. So again, any place where they send these children, the state doesn't know where they're at that point, really? Because there's no license. There's no. Whenever you're going to open a business, right? All right, don't you have to go get a license for that, right? In these cities. There's that licensing is a whole other issue, but I'm just saying from the psyche of most people understanding, if you're going to open a business, you have to go to the city and get a permit, a license, something to say that, hey, I'm here in this location doing this with children.
And so you'll find these requirements under 160602 under child care and licensing. You'll find them and you'll see how they have been suspended. So the question is why?
Why?
Why would Governor Brad Little waive the rules that protects parents' rights when their child is taken by the state? Why would Governor Little suspend the state's facility requirements for housing children and the requirements for training the staff? Why would he do these things specifically for children if there's not a plan to take children and put them in the quarantine centers as many of you know, I was arrested and had to fight through 2 major trials, and I was acquitted on both trials. But meanwhile, they held me away from my family in prisons for 2 years. My family, my brothers, my dad, and many friends for 2 years. Well, I want to tell you about those facilities. First of all, none of them met code because they couldn't. Because they would put us in these rooms with 100 men in them, and they would stack us in bunk beds 2 or 3 high. And then along the wall were the toilets. And so you had to go to the bathroom right in front of everybody, and same with showers. There was no bathroom requirements. There was no room requirements or codes or laws. There was no, all that was scratched. Why? So that they could legally house hundreds of people cheap and effectively. So it was easy for them to do that. We had 100 men, and there was 1 guard. There wasn't a huge staff to inmate ratio. And that's what I am certain is going on here. I mean, how can I not think that? How can we not think that? They're scratching all these things. Let me go down through this. I want to show you what they're doing. They're scratching these. Suspension of license, employee and volunteer training, staff ratio, fire safety requirements, public health district inspection, bathroom facilities, sleeping rooms and beds, visitation of child's parents, notification of change in visitation, notification's right to participate and appeal. They're scratching the rules for contact with children. Yes, they're scratching those rules. Many others. You can see the evidence, and I'm going to link it too, so you can see that. This is what is happening right now in Idaho.
So, I don't know exactly what that means is about contact with children. Does that mean that other people, not the parents, can have contact with children? That maybe now that would now be legalized? So we know what's been going on with the children. We know that 80% of all the missing children, of 800,000 children in America, are missing every year, that 80% are from Child Protection Services. Where are they? Have they already been moved to facilities like this that just not been legalized as it now has been in Idaho? Truly amazing. All right, we've covered almost everything. It says again, this is on Facebook, Paul.Turner. You can find it. I'll see. I'm putting the link here because I think it's important, you know, to get this video out there. Share it. I'll share it now. Now, how well this works. Again, Facebook. I know that I'm in a digital ghetto on Facebook. I used to have hundreds of people respond every time I posted, every time. and now, if I get 2 or 1, it's the people that are constantly trying to follow me. The others, my notifications have been restricted from. So it doesn't matter how many people. That's why I suggest everyone go over to Parler so we can have free discussions, so we can talk about things, so we can get the information out. We need to settle on one. Dan Bongino led the way. Let's go there. Sign up. I'm at 58 followers. 58 followers. Let's see how high we can make this go. I'll follow you. You follow me. I follow everyone that comes up. You know, follow. Follow. Now this is just one method to get this started, right? You got to post. You got to go on other people's areas, and you got to comment. You got to build your audience there. So that's what I want to focus on, is really building the audience. You know, we're launching this new news platform, United News Channel, right? It's about making a new way. we have to have a new path forward. New path forward is also, you know, one of the foundations of, again, you know, the Kringle Gold that I created this here. So this was set up for this, the purpose of creating a new path forward for making our own economy. That's what the focus of this is, making our own economy. But starting with gold chains, gold coins on the blockchain, right? This is the concept. Each one is equal to 1 grain of gold, right? But we build this ecosystem, right? But part of a big portion of this, they have to keep in balance, is community. So we have to have that social interaction. We have to be able to communicate. Parlor is one way to do it. Of course, I just closed it. I missed it. Anyway, we'll continue on. Let's see what I have also here. So just something else, not this one. There's some new Q posts. We can go over that as well. This I thought was interesting. This is said to be over the White House. I really don't think so. I think people were just talking, but interesting enough. Now this looks like Project Bluebeam to me. This is in the clouds, right, with this light going around, which you can also see on the corner of the cloud on the left-hand side where there's a little indent. The light starts to shine in the corner over there when it comes over to that side. That's because there is a laser going up and following this outline. So this is not a real spacecraft, right? It looks very convincing, but this would be a Project Bluebeam. They're just saying, meanwhile, over the White House. Just amusing, right? So I did mention China earlier as being part of the center for this. So the war is continuing. So this is a little report. We'll listen from here.
And this is the order from the DOT, essentially calling for a complete ban on commercial airline flights from Chinese airlines starting on June 16th. If this goes through, and there's no reason to believe that it won't, this will effectively cut off flights between the two countries. Remember, the U.S. carriers, they suspended their operations starting January 31st. They haven't had any flights going back and forth, but you still had about 30 to 35 flights per week from China coming into the United States, coming into either New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles. The U.S. and China were negotiating for the resumption of flights. Delta and United wanted to begin flights this week. Couldn't work out a deal. So now the DOT has said, you know what? You can't come to an agreement on letting us fly back to China. Maybe you shouldn't be coming here. So again, this is an escalation of tension between the U.S. and China, and now we're seeing it with Chinese carriers essentially being banned from flying here into the U.S. starting June 16th. Carl?
There we go, heating up on the front lines, right? So the battle between the U.S. and China. Because again, China is meant to be the new powerhouse in the New World Order. The Antifa manual says they're creating the New World Order, a new world government. That's what their goal is. They talk about also, don't give this manual to whites, right? Unless you can co-opt some of the whites because of white guilt, great. Which is the reason why they're going to have them, like Black Lives Matter, have those people kneel. Have white people kneel in front of, that does not create equality. You're not responsible for the systemic racism that doesn't exist. You're not responsible for what happened in generations past. We are all responsible for what we do right now here in this moment. You kneeling creates a worse situation. It doesn't make things better. So we have to come together on that. All right. So let's go to QAnon for a bit here. Let's see. What do we have here? Information warfare. Let's go back down. Looking for the date. This is June. Everything from June 5th. Okay, let's start about right here, I think. Yeah, that's where we left off yesterday. The swamp runs deep. So this is talking about the protest, right? So Black Lives Matter only during election years. D's way to manipulate the black vote, right? So here's this peak for Black Lives Matter in 2016, right? And look, 2020 again. So in the summer before the election, they tried to radicalize the black vote, get people upset to go to the polls to vote against the man. That's what this is all about, right? Do you see the pattern? Yeah, we do. All right, let's go on. Soros. Trump will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. Demons continue to serve the devil in his attempt to lead the world away from God into sin. Let's go take a look at this Twitter. Amazing, how he out and out says it. So let's take a listen.
The world. But I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world. But I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I consider the Trump administration...
Repeat. All right. So I expect that Soros is going to disappear sooner. Moving on. Okay, Trump is tweeting away here. Okay. So, great job last night at the White House by the U.S. Secret Service. They were not only totally professional, but very cool. I was inside, watched every move, and couldn't have felt more safe. They let the protesters scream and rant as much as they wanted, but whenever someone got too frisky or out of line, they would quickly come down on them hard. Didn't know what hit them. The front line, was replaced with fresh agents like magic. Big crowd, professionally organized, but nobody came close to breaching the fence. Even if they would have been greeted with most vicious dogs and most ominous weapons I've ever seen. That's when people would have been really badly hurt, in the least, I guess. Many Secret Service agents just waiting for action. We put the young ones in the front line. Sir, they love it, and good practice. As you saw last night, they were very cool, very professional, never let it get out of hand. Thank you. On the bad side, the D.C. mayor, dun dun dun, Marlon Browser, who always looking for money and help, wouldn't let the D.C. police get involved. Not their job. Nice. All right. So what happens if a breach occurred at the White House? What was the plan? Attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. They want to capture a horrifying moment. What is that horrifying moment? Well, predict the programming that they've been doing of the people. If you've looked at like Designated Survivor, if you saw that series, it's where there was where they blew up the Congress, right? And the one that survived, the president died, all the top leaders of the Congress died. Only one left was the one that was sent aside, right, as the designated survivor in case of a bad event like this was to happen. I think that's what they were trying to paint that picture. Now, there's been hints given out in Qanon to basically say that Obama had the White House renovated. And this renovation was not just for sprucing up the place. Maybe it was set to allow for something bad to happen. Because an event like this may occur, and when it did, and then the demoralized nation, right, and the chaos that ensues, all about creating chaos. That's all what they're trying to do. So again, attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. When what happens then? Okay, heavy protect White House, prevent White House, POTUS warning meant to push rational thought, peaceful protesters, prevent coordinated anarchists, Anarchy 99, push to a victory, White House breach. Right, so they were trying to use Anarchy 99, another terrorist group, right? They're more radicalized than Antifa. They're highly trained. Their purpose is not anything other than war, right? It's their first priority. So this was a coordinated event, all of it. Let's move on here. So 4404. D.C. mayor lifts curfew. Posey doesn't want military in D.C. D's want control insurrection act. So they they're trying anything they can. Okay, number one, the D.C. mayor's lifting the curfew. Why? To keep people out on the streets. Does that make any sense? No. Pelosi doesn't want military in D.C. Well, she's saying, well, why? I want to know more about this undercover D.C., these unnamed individuals that are in D.C. We want to know about them. Well, why? Or why do you want to know? And then D.C. wants to control the insurrection. So the Dems, I'm not saying D.C., the Dems want to control the insurrection. They want control over it because Trump has it now. So he can literally stop this, by sending in forces. Okay, important to understand. What happens if the breach occurs at the White House, right? Attempts coordinated to capture horrific moment. Oh, we're kind of covering this, didn't we? All right, so we did this already. Let's move up here. These are supporting the riots in their cities and purposefully weakening police forces. So why is it that the Democrats want to weaken police forces? Very amazing, isn't it? Updated list of major cities in the headlines with major riot activities, so-called protesters. Minneapolis, Democratic mayor. Cincinnati, Democratic mayor. Atlanta, Democratic mayor. Columbus, Democratic mayor. Oakland, Democratic mayor. San Jose, Democratic mayor. Seattle, Democratic mayor. Denver, Democratic mayor. Washington, Democratic mayor. And Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dallas, Louisiana, Memphis, Houston, Richmond, Fort Wayne, St. Paul, Bakersfield. Oh, here's that last one. I'm going to say, all of those Democratic mayors, only that last one, Bakersfield, Republican mayor. You know what happened there. There's always a rhino, I guess, that needs to be brought out, when the Democrats couldn't win, they get their rhinos in there. Okay, so information warfare. All assets, foreign and domestic, being deployed. Right? Foreign and domestic. So this is a war. We're on the front lines in the war. Someone who once supported POTUS sleepers have and will turn. How about General Mad Dog Mattis has gone mad, attacking the president now? There's going to be more of that. These are the sleepers. These are the ones that are supposedly supporting Trump, and then they turn in the end because they need to cause the momentum. They need to change the narrative. So that's why they're going to be coming out now. Control the narrative. See, control the public opinion. Control the public opinion equals power. Everything is at stake. Old guard power structure being destroyed. Washington Civil War. Control the narrative. Prevent exposure of the truth at all costs. They can't have the truth out there. Self-preservation, yes. Fighting for survival. They're fighting for their survival. Information warfare. Okay, let's move on. 4707. Minneapolis City Council members consider disbanding the police department. Madness, sheer madness. Important to understand, only the precipice, only at the precipice, moment of destruction, will people find the will to change. Is that Ender's Game was in that movie too, right? It's only there are some programming in there too. So they want people to change also, but for the wrong reasons. They want people to go against society, against law and order. They want there to be anarchy. So next one, 4408. We are in the middle of another enlightenment approaching the precipice. Yeah, okay. The Enlightenment is often associated with its political revolutions and ideas, especially the French Revolution of 1789. The energy created and expressed by the intellectual format of Enlightenment thinkers contribute to the growing wave of social unrest in France in the 18th century. The social unrest comes to a head in the violent political upheaval, which sweeps away the traditionally and hierarchical structural ancient regime. The monarchy, the privileges of nobility, the power, political power of the Catholic Church. The French revolutions meant to establish a place of ancient regime, a new reason to be a reason-based order instituting the Enlightenment ideals of liberty and equality. Enlightenment with the process of undertaking to think for oneself, to employ and rely on one's own intellectual capacities in determining what to believe and how to act. So basically a new reality, right? So I guess we're calling it light force. You know, we're now going to be deputized light force members. It kind of reminds me of Space Force, right? So we got the Space Force, now we have the light force. And those that have seen, you know, the good in humanity, the good in people, they have good in with themselves, and they are thinkers, right? And they want to think outside the box. We just have to make sure that we don't get co-opted, right, by going down the wrong path, right? So it's something to watch out for. Let's move on. 4409. The Lancet study used by the WHO, World Health Organization, to stop HCQ trials has been retracted. So their study, right, that they were relying on to say, hey, this was not good, it kills people, all this kind of stuff, it was fake. Completely fake. Right? The organization itself was thrown together. They had one purpose, was to create this study and to support it. It was not done with real science at all. It was just a propaganda move, the whole organization. Now their number of employees they have is now decreased to just maybe 2 from 7. So it's just cleanup operations. You know, they have nothing left to do. Anyway, so when media D's, elect officials coordinate knowingly, attempt to prevent a medical verifiable solution, prevention, RE, con job 19, previous deaths, we enter a state of crisis, right? So they're trying to create a state of crisis. When the de-elected officials coordinate knowingly, push, and they're saying coordinate and knowingly, these are in accordance with treason. That's why this is being laid out this way, just saying. So push COVID positive elderly patients into nursing homes hotspots, most at risk. We enter a state of crisis. Again, trying to create a state of crisis, right? Your life means nothing to them, sheep. Your vote, you are a vote when it matters and a $ when it does not. Next, oh, look who we have here. So 4410, operators are standing by. I think that's kind of a televangelist, like, and the operators stand by for your contributions. I think that's what that's meaning. So, okay, the sign interesting above his shoulder here, Bill Clinton holding a Bible, the significance of this is that this is exactly the same thing Trump is doing by trolling them, by holding up a Bible, and they fell right into it and started clamoring against it and saying, what is he doing, right? And all this kind of stuff. All bad spin by the left media. But he's constantly doing what the previous Democrat presidents have been doing. Clinton holding up a Bible in the same spot. So the difference between Trump doing it and Clinton doing it, it's just the media spinning it one way or another. So anyway, over his shoulder says, perfected in weakness. Yeah, so that's interesting. Perfected in weakness. I would say that pretty much applies here. All right, anyway, what is it saying something? Yeah, operator standing by. All right, continuing on here. Okay, 4411, fake news shielding Antifa. Bill Barr distinctly calls out Antifa. All right, so we've seen a lot about that anyway. So Bill Barr is basically targeting Antifa, and now they've been made a terrorist organization. Why is this? Why are they allowed to keep going like this? Also, is one of the questions that's been laid out there, and the reason is because they are following them. That's why Nancy Pelosi wants to know who's the military presence that's out there in D.C. right now, because they're following these guys. They're trying to find who the leaders are. Okay, 4412, letter from respected retired Marine blasts Jim Mathis decision to get political. Oh, well, there we go. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, I'll blow this up. Jim, I slept on your statement and woke up appalled. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger. A little hard for me to read. No, it's not letting me, or no. Oh, there we go. You know, it keeps making it smaller. It's not doing. I'm not going to read this because I'm going to struggle too much with it. I can't blow it up. Anyway, I thought this letter from respected retired Marine superstar lawyer John Dowd would be interesting to the American people. Read it. Maybe we'll cover that tomorrow. I'll blow it up. We'll take some little work back and forth. Okay, we are fighting for our survival. Okay, here we go. 4413. Some military brass openly talking about defying the president of the United States. Mutiny. Oh, that's interesting. This is not the same flag that they've been showing, interesting enough. This is different. And I can tell because the other one has a weird optical illusion that occurs from the ends of all the red and white stripes. One being a little slightly smaller than the other actually causes a 3D kind of effect, a little variance in your eye. It's not present in this one. Interesting. It's the first time I noticed one that didn't have that. So maybe it's a marker. Those loyal to our constitutional republic are our command structure. Those loyal to the office of the president and the will of the people. Those who swore an oath to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those good people who serve proudly for America. Castle Rock, for God and country. Let's see what this link is. Oh, there's a couple links there. Ah, yes, Dan Bongino. Well, it's good to listen to him, but this is a source is telling Dan Bongino that they are genuinely concerned that some upper-level people in the military are openly talking about defying the President of the United States. That's got a name. It's called mutiny. That's 2 minutes of this. Okay, let's listen to Dan.
The U.S. military. What I'm hearing from people is that there is some military brass. This is uncomfortable for me to talk about, but you need to hear it because you need to be warned. And some civilian representatives of the military, undersecretary types and others, who are organizing together and talking about how they're going to either talk the president out of or just simply not obey his orders if the president, God forbid, and again, as I said, it would be a very bad idea now, but if we were to lose an American city using the U.S. military, think about what I just told you. Folks, I've been doing this now. This is episode 1266. Joe's been there with me from that.
Yep. Didn't know it would cut out this volume.
I don't think I've ever told you something as serious as what I just told you. These are not second-rate garbage sources. These are legitimate, real people who are genuinely concerned that some upper-level people in our military are openly talking about defying the President of the United States. That's got a name. It's called a mutiny.
Yep.
Well, what is this, Venezuela? You don't like the president's decisions about his constitutional authority to use our military
Resign.
to suppress an emergency situation? Then there's a solution for that. It's called an election. It'll be here in November. Not here to tell you who to vote for. You know who I'm voting for. I've been a supporter of the president, and I'll continue to. My vote's not a secret. I'm not telling you who to vote for. But the mere suggestion that the president of the United States is no longer the commander-in-chief and some band of military insiders is somehow...
Right? Somehow they're the ones. They're now in charge, right? And this is what we've been facing all along, is right? This is insurrection. All right, what's this one? We have two links here. Ambassador Qanon becomes the 5th Pentagon official to resign in 7 days. Interesting. So, all right, well, yeah, I said resignation, right, when Bongino was talking there, and said, you know, if you don't like it, you don't think the president's doing, you can't abide by his order, you resign. You don't go in opposition, because that's mutiny. That's what that is. All right, let's move on here. Emergency action message, EAM loyalist. Red 1, POTUS Twitter removal. Red 2, commercial communications blackout, continental United States. Red 3, class movement, Pelosi or Pence. So what is that? Classified movement of Pelosi or Pence. What does that mean? I'm not exactly sure. Does that mean that they move them to a secure location? Red 4, movement of military asset, 10th Mountain, 1st Marine, Marine QVIR, to central locations under guise of citizens' riot control. Interesting. Red 5, National Military Comm Center. Red 6, SEC, what is this? Secure of Defense, Instruct 1, and then U.S. Secret Service, Casseron. So, emergency action message, loyalists. So, those that are loyal, so these are the events that would occur. I'm not exactly sure. It's very, very disturbing, you know, because I could read this one of two ways. You know, this is you know, the way it's going to proceed under the plan, or this is what may occur in different levels, and they get they mean different things, right? So this one's concerning movement of military assets to central locations under the guise of civilian riot control. So is this meant because there is a military presence within the United States that is hiding in the in certain areas. Now I know that seen a lot of reports that this has been underway for a long time. Even back to the time I was tracing some of this out back when the Chinese first bought Long Beach Harbor, so they can move any containers in and out. If they were brought in weapons, people, tanks, airplanes through there and move them out on a truck somewhere, no one would know what's in the back. Move somewhere, move to another location, move to other locations. They could have been supplying and setting up a military presence inside the United States. There's definitely one that was forming outside the United States, say in Mexico, by the Chinese, under the guise of drug wars. So this is interesting. So is this meaning that the military has been rolled out into the area for under the guise of riot control? That this is the plan to stop the invasion? Very worrisome, this one. All right, let's move on. See where else. 4415, the D's, MSM, and former military brass coordinating staged event. Fake events, right? So riot coordinated select safe zone cities. Safe zones are where this leaders in those cities are not going to keep the people that, if they get arrested, in the jails. They're going to let them right back out so they can go back the next day. Decontrolled mayors allow staged events to form active military brass assertions of unconstitutional threat to a constitutional mutiny. MSM publicly optics staging underway. So they're doing this. So alert readiness, severe and critical. So this is red alert time, right? This is red alert time. Let's go through these. See if we get a picture forming here. James Mattis denounces the president. Well, we won't need to go into that one anymore. Mad Dog Mattis is mad. Senior military leaders being called to testify to Congress about George Floyd protest. Okay, interesting. Angry lawmakers will summon Pentagon leaders to Capitol Hill the next week to explain what role military personnel will play in responding to the growing demonstration of racial unrest in the United States, whether President Donald Trump have overstepped his authority as commander-in-chief. So they know that he's taking action. That's what it looks like to me. Trump is taking action, and they know that he can upset their plans. And they're going to try and stop him from upsetting their plans by trying to remove his authority over the military. Not going to work. Next. This is in the Washington Examiner. Pentagon distances itself from Trump on crowd control and laments murder of Floyd. See, they're setting the narrative that the military is against Trump. I would like to point out also that under Obama, he removed, I think it was over 3,000 officers, right? He had them, retire early or whatever. He got them out and replaced them, right? He raised other people up into those positions. Now, I knew at that time, made me think more about how this was a part of their plan to remove the military being loyal to the people. In this case, those are loyal to Trump. Revolt of generals. Why do not yet know precisely why Defense Secretary Mark T. Esper politically broke with President Trump on Wednesday, renouncing the use of Insurrection Act as a means to deploy military against civilian demonstrators. Well, so this is getting more clear, right? What the problem is that they know that he can stop their rebellion through the Insurrection Act because of insurrection. Right? They don't want to claim. They want to claim that there's no insurrection, that it's not an external force. Right? It's not about domestic foreign terrorists that have infiltrated. Right? They want to basically say that it's Donald Trump is basically overusing his authority. So they're going to be coming out of the woodwork now. All right. So mainstream media, public optics staging underway. So they're trying to set this up right now, so people will know that Trump shouldn't have the authority to do this. Next, 4416, Minneapolis City Council President, Democrat Jemiah Ellison claimed that they're dismantling the police. My goodness, again, madness. Infiltration instead of invasion, right? So they just go in and they've infiltrated, they become elected, and when push comes to shove, when the police are most needed, oh, you go home now. You go home now. It's madness. You don't need to go any further. We know it's madness. Next one, 4417, link to a new cue. Okay. Remember your oath. Remember why you joined. It's about the person standing next to you. Well, there's a lot going on. Some Tucker Carlson. Let's see what he has to say.
58% of us want the military in our city tonight. Nation is panicking. 71% of us want the National Guard in our cities tonight.
Yes.
58% of us want the military in our cities tonight. All right, the people are panicking. The country is on fire. Now, who is attacking us? Mr. Esper should know this.
Who is attacking
us?
It's
Antifa, Department of Justice, NYPD. Others are saying this very clearly. These are people, by the way, that we faced back in the 1960s and 70s and early 80s. These were people who were far leftist, Marx, Lenin, folks who embraced that ideology. They allied with Black Panther movement, and it took many years to finally put it down. Very dangerous. And now this same group, who is allied, by the way, with the Democratic Socialists, we're talking to Bernie Bros and Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, they're back. They're back with firebombs. They're back with bricks in our suburbs and our downtowns. That's something that Mr. Esper clearly doesn't understand. And then finally, we have a media that is feeding this flame, this horrific fire, this seditiousness. You have brought this up many times, including tonight. Let me read a headline from Slate magazine. Just yesterday, it said the following. Peaceful protests are an important tool, but so is violence. So now we have a media filling the airways full of this crap. Yeah. Put it all together. And the piece that you mentioned, no more police, because we're going to defund those folks. We can't put forward the National Guard because that would be escalation. So now we take off the military from the table. Where does that leave, Tucker? Let me tell you what it leaves. Vigilante justice. It's you and me and everybody watching this program arming ourselves. Is that how we run a republic? No, sir, it is not. And you do not want a country that goes there. And that is precisely where the nation is headed. And we need for all of our leadership to understand that. And if Secretary Esper doesn't get it, doesn't understand that the oath is to protect ourselves from threats, both foreign and domestic, by God, get the hell out of the Pentagon and let somebody lead who gets it. Because that is the oath that he took, that I took, and that the people of this country demand of our leadership in this moment because we are on fire. Someone do something about it.
Yes, someone do something about it. You know, that's some fire, you know, and while this is playing, it's first I've seen this, and now I'm thinking about, earlier today I did a search on Tucker Carlson on YouTube. This did not come up. Why? This is shot by someone's phone, right? They're taking a picture of this and they're posting it on Twitter, and it makes it through the filters. They don't want this message out. It's being suppressed. So we have to be aware, and again, go to Parler. Let's get this. Let's build this up for a place for us to have our things. We will be posting also on these kind of videos on our new news platform, the United News channel. All right, let's continue. That was excellent. These were new, that's why. So biblical. There's one more here. Last one, 44:18. Well, maybe we're gonna see a flying saucer in here soon. No noise. Oh wow. It's gonna be biblical, all right. Dan Scavino. He's one to follow if you haven't followed him. Follow Dan Scavino. I've been looking to do that. So, all right, that is it for today. I'd like to appreciate everyone for tuning in again. You know, we are making a difference every day, a little bit more. We're weaving the new reality for a new path forward into creating an abundant society. We are here. We're doing it. We have to make our moves. This is a critical time. Be safe. Do everything you can to put this into perspective for everybody, right? Please make sure that you are able to make an effort from your home without rioting, but protect yourselves. If you see rioters coming down the street, you know, don't engage them, but protect yourself. All right, we've got a lot to do. I look forward to being here tomorrow, and we'll cover even more, and maybe we'll hear some more news about what's going on with the United News Channel.